Okay. Hi, everybody. So again, thank you for coming. So what we're going to talk about today, and I think it's something that we really need to be working on, and that's why I really want to talk about it, and that's bitachon. So as much as we, always feel we have bitachon, I think you don't know if you've got bitachon unless there's like proof in the pudding, right? Like when Hashem really puts us into the predicament, that's when you really could know if you have bitachon. So just somebody for a minute, unmute, define bitachon. Can people hear me? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So what's the word bitachon mean?
Trust.
Yes, trust. Okay, so what's the difference between trust and faith? What's the difference between amuna and bitachon? Barb, I'm so happy you're here. Okay,
Hi.
on
Hi.
so someone to see. Okay, thanks.
Hi.
So Karen, what's the difference between faith and trust?
Faith is
Trust is
believing.
putting faith into action.
Yes. Okay, perfect. So definitely right now, the Jewish people are being called upon to put faith into action. There's no doubt about it. So you're being called upon to have bitachon. So I do want to talk about, I want to clarify some ideas because bitachon there's a little bit of controversy over bitachon. So sometimes people have this idea that if a person has bitachon, like everything's great and nothing's going to faze them and they're never going to feel any fear or never any doubt or never any of those things. So I would say, some people maybe reach these incredible levels of bitachon, but for the average person, we are wired in physically, physiologically, right? We're wired for, responses, for certain responses, certain stimuli give you certain responses, right? So fight, flight, and freeze. Okay, they're very normal, right? Once upon a, it's something that you need to be able to prepare yourself in times of crisis. So people feeling afraid is not legitimate reality, and it's not necessarily a sign of someone not having bitachon. Like I think we have to really clarify that, because then sometimes like people feel really guilty, like I don't really have bitachon, look, I'm so scared. No, that doesn't mean you don't have bitachon. It means your initial reaction of fear under certain circumstances makes sense. Like what's going on in Israel is fearful, right? And when you think about the world is full of Hamas, right? And everywhere we go, there's all kinds of protests around the world, it does make you go, right? And it does make you, you see someone who, has that look, more whatever, hijab or wearing these things or holding a sign, like it's not exactly making you go, wow, what a wonderful, sweet, wonderful day. No, it makes sense that you would feel fear. So where does bitachon come in? Where does bitachon come in? So I'm seeing these images. I'm starting to feel fear, right? And we're saying fear is like a wired response, physiological response, right? Fight, flight, or freeze. Very physiological, very real. So where does the bitachon come in? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've been learning about all the Torah and that Hashem is in charge of the whole world. And I mean, you've been talking about this for so long, about that Israel's so small and all these Arab nations.
Right. And it's always
because of Hashem that will survive.
Exactly. Beautiful. So you are going to have the fear. That's normal. But now what has to come in? The bitachon. That's where bitachon comes in. So now bitachon is going to try to ease your fear. Okay, so now bitachon, your neshama is saying, look, body, I get it. You're scared. It makes a lot of sense. But let me tell you the following stuff. Okay, so I start saying Hashem is in control, ein od milvado. The Jewish people will, the Jewish people have done this before. This is pushing Mashiach. This is bringing us closer to the destiny of the end of the history. Good. And I start to feel a little bit better. But I still have, I was 50% afraid. And now I'm like tapping into my bitachon. And now I'm only 40% afraid. So I feel 10% better. Does that mean I don't have bitachon? I have to feel 100% better? No, you will be rewarded for every ounce and every feeling of bitachon that you can rally. And that's something that we all have to appreciate. Bitachon is not an all or nothing, okay? It's like, oh, because you're still a little afraid means you have no bitachon. No, you have a lot of bitachon. And bitachon is very similar. All of these spiritual characteristics are very like similar to physical characteristics. They have to be exercised. Okay, so no one has to feel guilty or bad if they're feeling a little anxious or nervous or their heart's pumping when they hear a siren. You don't have to feel bad. Baruch Shomer Yisroel. Talk to yourself, bring up all your concepts of amuna and bitachon, and take a lot of simcha, take a lot of joy in the fact that you have these tools and that you're trying to work with them. And it was very interesting. My husband was talking to me today about, the concept of simcha. The word simcha in Judaism doesn't mean happiness the way we look at the word happiness, okay? It doesn't mean marine land or, you know what I mean, or a beautiful ring or brand new sheitel. Those are like nice, good feelings. But simcha is the joy of the connection to Hashem. Simcha is the joy that I have purpose and meaning in my life. And yes, I may be feeling afraid, and I'm trying to exercise my bitachon. And even if I get 10% stronger, but I still feel nervous, I'm going to take pleasure in the fact that I have Hashem to help me get that 10%. I'm taking pleasure in the fact that whatever is happening with purpose and meaning. So I want to tell you a story. It's a very famous story, and it's interesting. My son, Menachem, is in this yeshiva, the Brisk, originally, right now he's not, but in the Brisk yeshiva in Israel, okay? So the Brisker Rav, it's a huge dynasty of great people, all right? So in 1940, the Brisker Rav, the war broke out, that's it. People are going to concentration camps, and the Brisker Rav realizes he has to go. So Brisk is part of Poland, all right? Brisk was a city part of Poland, and he has to he's trying to escape, right? He's trying to escape the Nazis, and he's going with 2 teenage daughters and a 9-year-old son. Okay, the possibility of escape was really zero. I'm going to be honest, zero. And he's dreaming of taking a train. Could you imagine? Taking a train with him and these kids, walking through all the Nazis, guarding all this stuff, who's looking for Jews to deport. You know what I mean? Like, it's the possibility of him being able to do this was nil, okay, was zero, all right? So he said, right, that he was going to rely on these powerful words of the Ashlech HaKodesh. And what did he say? That there's a beautiful pasuk, we say it even in the davening on Yom Kippur, Ata haresa ladas ki Hashem hua Elokim ein od milvado. Okay, so what does it mean? It has been revealed to you. Okay, so that means to every Jewish person, it was revealed to us. Ki Hashem, that God, Hashem, is the God of mercy. Hu ha-Elokim, he is the all-powerful God, right? The God of judgment. Just like when you say Shema Yisrael, you say Hashem, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, right? You keep saying that this God of power and judgment is also the God of mercy. We don't have a bad God and a good God. It's all one God, right? Ein od milvado. There is no one else but him. He took his kids and he said, we are going to meditate on those words for an entire week, 24/7. We're never going to have that thought leave our head. Get it? We are not. Mm-hmm. Okay? Now, were his kids afraid? 100%. Anybody would be afraid. You've got to be crazy not to be afraid. You're a human being, all right? So he sat down with those kids and they meditated, they memorized it. They spent all day, nothing else was on their head. Ein od milvado, there is no one else in charge. Ein od milvado. It was a miracle. They walked through the train station. They got on the train and they got out. Okay, this is a story that they pass on in the Brisker family. It's a legacy that they pass on and they pass
Where?
on.
So where did they get out?
But it ends out all the way to America and then to Eretz Yisrael.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So, but what am I trying to bring out of this story? That there was fear, there was what to be afraid of, right? It took so much meditation and concentration. They couldn't let go of that thought for a moment. Okay.
Yes, I believe you.
Yes. So this is an exceptional, exceptional reality. Okay. I don't think we can hold thoughts in our heads for more than 9 seconds, okay, without getting distracted. So it's not that Hashem is expecting from us what the Brisker Rav could do. I'm not the Brisker Rav. You're not the Brisker Rav. And we don't have that kind of intent. Maybe you do, and I don't want to knock anybody, but I know I don't. All right. So I have to work from where I am, and you have to work from where you are. But to expect that we're going to go through this whole thing and is ridiculous. I wish I could say not. So we have to appreciate that the fact that we're in the game, that's what Hashem is looking for today. He's not looking at you winning the game. You're in the game. You're trying. That's what I'm being honest. So that's like superpower bitachon. So we have to we're going to learn. I want to teach us some realities of bitachon, and so that we can integrate them. Do you know what I mean? And we can try our best to let them really become part of us, and use these tools to effectively cope through these times, because these are incredible times. And one of the greatest mitzvahs and the greatest Kiddush Hashem that you can do now is to strengthen your bitachon. And not only to strengthen your bitachon, strengthen the bitachon of all of your friends, your family, and the people around you. That's what you have to do right now. So we got to know how to do it. So let's see what I have to tell you, okay? Okay, and it's an incredible story. These kids stayed focused on it, right? And they went through all these checkpoints. They actually the Masorah, the way they explain the story, they feel like they were almost invisible, like they were passing Nazis who were looking for every single Jew and anyone who brought money. Do you know what I mean?
You have to know it's people with payot and with cities. Everybody can see
and
they're Jews.
You know what I mean? So it was an unbelievable story. Okay.
Miracle.
Now, so we have to know, so having bitachon does not mean we are immune from normal responses, means we will have normal responses. We're normal people, but it's how we're going to react. That's what it is. Because if we let ourselves become incredibly anxious or depressed or apathetic, then what's the problem? What's the problem? If we become depressed, we will
get despair.
Right. If we get despair, then what will that do for us?
We lost.
Yes,
we lost.
We'll lose. I'm telling you that we will lose. Okay, so number one, we can't let ourselves get down like that. If we get full of anxiety, what will happen? We
will lose our mind. And
you'll make very poor decisions. You won't be able to connect.
Right.
You won't be able to dive in.
More mistakes.
You'll make more mistakes. People in times of anxiety, that's when you make a lot of mistakes. You become overwhelmed. You don't know what to do with yourself. So what we're trying to do here is control. That's exactly what it is. When we serve Hashem, what is it? It's an avoda. It's a work. To connect to Hashem is a work. To work, you have to be focused. To be focused, you're going to need bitachon to calm down these feelings. And that's the truth. It's just the truth. All of us, I hope, and if not, then I'm going to send it out again. But I think everybody here has taken on a soldier or a hostage or both. So I called Esther last night because I wanted to make sure I could pronounce the name of my hostage. These are very Israeli names. I don't know how to say them all, right? So it's Raz Bas Daron. That's mine.
Right.
And I asked her, could you please find out something about them?
Yeah, you thought it's Rose.
Yeah, it was Raz, and I thought it was Rose.
Right.
So I asked Esther, and it's a little girl. I was so sad. It's a little
pretty
girl with her sister Aviva, two little kids. It's disgusting that are hostages, and we can't afford to become overwhelmed or apathetic or all this because we won't continue doing what we're doing. And I don't know how long this is going to take. I have no idea what Hashem has here. So, you know, the first days you're like crying, and then after a while, like, no, it doesn't affect you so much. So, oh, I didn't get to say the Tehillim. No, it can't be like that. It really can't be like that. So, like, this whole class has to be dedicated to all the soldiers and to all the people in Eretz Yisrael, and for refuahs and Yeshuas, and that all the hostages that go back, and that we should see Mashiach. Like, these are things that we have to keep in our psyche. And like, when we start getting down, we have to realize, no. Like, this is all a reality. We have bitachon. This is all coming from Hashem. This all has purpose. This all has meaning. This isn't an arbitrary mistake. This is a very calculated piece of history. And Hashem is asking us, right? Stay focused. Do not get confused. Have bitachon, right? It's all good in the end. If it isn't good, it's not the end. But we're working. We are sharing in the possibility of being able to move things closer. All right? Okay. So we don't want like frustration and all these kinds of things to determine our choices, okay? That's what we have to do. So yes, will you feel sad? Yes. Will you feel frustrated? Yes. Will you feel scared? Yes. So you say to those feelings, I have you. That's normal. But our lives are above normal, right? I'm going to kick in my bitachon. I'm going to use those to fight those kinds of feelings, okay? So part of bitachon, which is a hard thing for us to get, is having discomfort. To be able to trust in something, you have to be like, you're uncomfortable, and then you trust, right? That it has a purpose, and that it will, Hashem's will is that everything will be good. It is for a good reason. Okay, and it's good defined by Hashem, not by what I determine is good. That's the scary part, okay? All right, so it's good determined by Hashem, not the way I say it has to be good, okay? That's what real bitachon is. So I've always seen these different like attitudes, right? And we have to appreciate, I want to make some clear definitions. Like, there are people who have these things, you know, like, if you believe it's going to be good, then you can manipulate the situation, and then it's going to be good. And we're going to say mazel tov before you're even pregnant, because then we know you're going to get pregnant. Like, okay, all these ideas, right? You have to understand, like, you have to take a deep breath when I say this. Hashem is not here to serve you. You are here to what?
To win.
Yes. Okay, so what's the difference? What's the difference if Hashem is not here to serve you? You are here to serve Hashem. What's the difference?
We have to step up and serve him.
Okay, so we have to step. What does that mean? Like I think sometimes we feel like, you know, Hashem owes to us. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you owe us to have this, and you owe us, it should be like this. And if I dove into you and I did this, then you owe me tit for tat. You know what I mean? But it's not like that. Why is it not like that? Why is it that we're really here to serve Hashem, and Hashem is not here to serve us? It's not us dictating what should be and shouldn't be. Why is that not the way it is? Like, why can't it be like, can't you be nice? Trust me like this. A lot of your kids think you are here to serve them, and they are not here at all to serve you. I just want to make that very clear. So why is it not a good world? Like, imagine if we lived a world where we would just say, okay, you know, we're here just to serve the kids, and the kids have no responsibility. We just do what they want, and we're here to serve them. Why is it not a good idea?
Because it's not for their good.
Say that again, Karen, please.
It's not for their good. In the same way, sometimes what we think we need is not for our good.
Okay. Very, 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 very well said. Okay, so Hashem says, you're here to serve me because I have a much better, greater, deeper understanding of what is good for you and what is good for the world. And if everyone was very honest today, like you could see how great we're doing now that we let man sort of take over. Like in the last 3 years, the world has really actually destroyed itself. Okay? The world, I think, shot itself in the foot. Okay, I'm being honest, right? They have destroyed family, they have destroyed definitions of self, they've destroyed justice, you name it, and it has been destroyed in the last couple years. I'm being real. They've destroyed boundaries, they destroyed America, they destroyed the country, they've destroyed, like, who hasn't destroyed? Like, it's been the most incredibly mishandled world because we took Hashem out and we kind of said, goodbye, God, we're not here to serve you. If you want, you can serve us because we're so much smarter than you. So now we have to really look and listen, right? Hashem is saying, like, be very careful. Right? Bitachon is you have faith in what Hashem is doing, not in Hashem has to trust me. I have to trust him. Do you see the difference? Okay, so this is a very important reality. So sometimes things will be uncomfortable for you. Sometimes they are uncomfortable. Bitachon, it doesn't take a lot of bitachon, and in fact, you usually lose bitachon. When things are all great and you got all like, just go back, okay? Why was it that people became so chutzpahdik? Why was it that everyone became so full of themselves and
so good, and everyone was doing
well? They had money and everything they wanted, and people were like, there was no purpose to anything. Everybody had what they wanted. You opened up your refrigerator, it was packed. Like, let's be honest, like, Baruch Hashem, things were really good. Right? There wasn't this inflation and there wasn't this and there wasn't that. Now things are in a very different place. Okay. So when things are really going good, it's very hard. That's what the Torah tells you over and over again, for you to lose focus. When things are very good, you start to think it's all about me and my smart decisions and how I have this business savvy and I have this and I have that. And that's why it's so good. Right? Very scary. So Hashem says, the David Melch says, you need bitachon in Hashem in the good times and in the bad times. What does it mean, a definition of bitachon in Hashem in the good times?
That it's all coming from him and it's not coming from you.
So it's all coming from him, and therefore I am very
grateful.
Yes. Okay. And that if I am so grateful and it's all coming from him, what would I also be saying to him?
I'm grateful even for not such good times.
Okay, we could do like that thank you prayer, but we could also say to Hashem, you know what? I'm very grateful for all the good I have, and please keep it going. I don't want to take it at all for granted. And I think in some ways, like, I find like sometimes I have these conversations with people and it's really, really hard. Like if people just start listing, this bad thing and this bad thing and this bad thing, and you're like, so what should your reaction be? Like, you should take a moment and sort of say, you know what, I'm hearing what you're saying. So let's say this. I feel so sorry for those people. May Hashem answer their tears. But let me take a minute to be grateful for what I have. And let me take a second minute to thank Hashem and ask him to keep it going. And I think that's something that also would show a lot of bitachon for all of us. And I think it's something that we have to do, because I think we just pile on all this negative. Have you noticed it? Like I'll be sitting with people and they'll just go on and on and on about these tragedies and how this and how that. And I'm starting to think like it's not our place. Do you know what I'm saying? Our place is to empathize, but I don't think our place is to catastrophize. Like our place is to empathize, like to say, this is so sad, but I don't think we have to go into, and you realize this and this and this and this and this. Like it just becomes this huge picture. And when you do hear all this, it should wake you up to have so much bitachon and so much gratitude. Like, thank you, Hashem. Like I trusted you all these years. You gave me my health, and all these years you gave, please, Hashem, I just, going forward, I hope that will be, coming also. Okay. So we have to appreciate, like, I think this is an important part, like a part of the way the world is created is Hashem did not make this world meant to be easy. Like, I think that's hard for us to understand. I think sometimes, like, we think this world is supposed to be like, what's it called? A fairy tale. You know what I mean? It's not. Like Hashem says, like, this is really the world of work. This is not the world of reward. Reward is saved for the afterlife, like for Olam Haba, because you can't reward a mitzvah here. The reward is so great that there's nothing here that would satisfy, what you deserve. So that's a nice point, but we have to understand it, okay? Because sometimes you were feeling very confused, like you're in a world and like all these people are innocent, good people. Like, it's so hard to understand. It's hard to wrap your head around this. Why is it, right, that bad things happen to good people? And then you see good things, like you feel like good things happen to bad people. Like, it's a very confusing reality. So Hashem says, I had to set this up. I had to give it like this, because had I made it that, when you're really good, then you get $10 bills flying from the ground, flying from the sky. And when you're really bad, a rock comes and hits you on the head. Okay, let's say we lived like that, then what would happen? What would happen if everybody...
We lost our free will choice.
You would lose your free will choice. You would really honestly be an inactive partner. You would be like a robot, right? It's like, you would be a trained dog. That's all you would be. So there's like no reality to you. There's no connection to Hashem. It's really just a connection to the prize. I want a prize. I don't want a smack, but I don't have any relationship to Hashem. You give me a prize. Okay, you give me a prize. You give me a smack. You give me a smack. I'll just do what you want, just so I can get my prize. So that has nothing to do with relationships. So this is a much deeper reality. Bitachon comes in really, in both areas, when things are good, but when things are bad, that's when you really have to lean into bitachon, right? And really trust that whatever Hashem is doing, he's doing it for the good. What does the good mean? Like, I think that's our big issue, is that we have a very hard time defining, like, we throw the term around, but we're not really defining it properly. So what does it mean?
You actually have to fight your way through it and improve yourself with it in a forward direction.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. You won't be that person if you didn't get all that.
Exactly. Okay, so that was so perfect. Like, that was so perfect. Okay, so the good means good for your neshama's growth and purpose in this world, right here and right now. Okay, so we usually think like, and it's interesting because we use that term. I just thought about it right now in our own world. Like, even when things taste bad, right? Like, when you were younger and your mother had, like, today's medicine tastes so much better. Who remembers when you had to take these things and they tasted terrible? You didn't have a choice. You didn't get strawberry or banana flavor. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Like, you have to take an antibiotic and it tasted awful. So you would have to taste it. You were about to take it and you'd be like, crying, you're going to take it. And your mother would say,
good for you.
It's good for you. Today, like, once upon a time, you understood something could be good for you, but it could be bitter at the same time. Today, like, this antibiotic is good for you. Which flavor? Bubblegum, grape, or strawberry? So then when the kid takes it, it's like, oh, how about if I could take some more? Because it's good all the way through. Okay, it's an obvious kind of good. We don't have, like, so here, like, what Hashem is trying to tell you, and we have to really accept this. This is really hard. It's not easy. This is not easy. Like, there's been a lot of tragedy. And I forgot, but it's just lined up, like that whole Meron thing. That was like terrible. That was terrible. Do you know what I mean? It was so much tragedy. And some of these people came out like Malachim, like they came out like angels. These people were like angels. And sometimes, like, these people, they were examples for all of us. Do you know what I mean? For the next set, do you know what I'm trying to say, of things. And now you look back and you say, I remember so-and-so and how they handled the tragedy. No, that's going to give me strength to handle what's coming my way, which may be much simpler, and I'll find nothing like this. You know what I mean?
But even when I watch the news, and I see these parents talking about their child that's been hostage, but they're also worried about everyone else.
Okay, that's the Jewish people. That's the Jewish people.
You know what I mean?
It's amazing because it's one collective soul. Like, we're all hurting. Every one of us is hurting. So it's a one collective soul. That alone in itself it stands us.
Those people are actually much stronger.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And they need to, it's like
hope. That's why.
Yes. And so they have hope, they have tikva, they have bitachon, and that's what we have to kind of absorb with it. Like, you have to realize, like, like when people are being challenged, and none of us should be challenged, like sometimes you're chosen because you're going to role model to everyone else how to hold on. Like, they're going to be our source of strength. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, right? Okay. So let's see. Okay, but the point is, okay, so let me explain the thing. So it's very famous, and we all understand this, right? A famous idea of when Moshe asks for forgiveness for the Jewish people, and he gets the forgiveness, so he thinks, okay, like they were so rotten, they were so bad, and yet Hashem said, Kel Rachamim, I'm Chanun, Erech Apayim, I'm amazing, I'm going to give them the greatest, forgiveness. And so then now Moshe thinks, okay, now this is a good time. Like, to see such an expansiveness, let me ask Hashem how he runs his world. And he says, I don't understand how good things happen to bad people. I don't understand how bad things happen to good people. And then he actually said, you don't always hear this, but he actually said, I don't understand how good happens to good and bad happens to bad. Like, I don't get any of this. In other words, really, in all honesty, we can't say we understand very much of what Hashem does. We can't. Okay, so Moshe says, I really don't get it. So, could you fill me in? Okay, so then Hashem says, listen, I really wish I could, but you're limited. You're nothing like me. Like, we have no concept of any of the realities that God has. Like, it's a joke. You know what I mean? Like, it's a joke to even try to pretend, right? We don't. Okay, there's like a whole, atmosphere and moons and suns and stars, and like there's so much going on. Like, we're like, what? Like, we really do not know. All right. So he said the only way you'll ever get to know is you can see me from the back. Which, what does that mean to everybody? Unmute. What does it mean when Hashem says
hindsight?
Hindsight. You'll never be able to see my face. You'll never be able to see the beginning or the whole picture of me. You'll only be able to see me from the back. A little bit of hindsight. So it's interesting. Like, we call Hashem a tzur, which is a
rock.
It also means Esther Greenbaum. Okay, like yitzur is also to form, right? Like Hashem forms things. He's also an artist.
A rock
and an artist. Okay, and even tsuris, right? Troubles. They're all within the same kind of root word. Okay, so when we get troubles, we have to become steady like a rock, and we also are forming ourselves. So it's just a nice idea. And I just want to quote it from the right rabbi. I would like to, if I find it, and if I don't, then I won't. Okay, so here it goes. Yeah, Reb Feivel Mendelowitz. I thought I was him. Okay, so Reb Feivel Mendelowitz says like this: if you ask a kindergarten child to draw the mommy, right? Draw a picture of mommy. It's very easy. What does he do? You're a kindergarten kid. Yeah, a face and then stick body. Okay, so it's very easy for you to understand. Like, you even can almost anticipate what he's going to do. You can anticipate. What's your definition of a mommy when you're drawing when you're 6 years old? Okay, you're going to make a circle, 2 eyes, a mouth, a stick body, and finished. Now you're going to ask Rembrandt.
Right.
Picture of a mommy. So the first thing he's going to do is he's going to start doing the background. He's going to take colors that you are going to have absolutely no understanding. He's going to put black and red and white and this and that. And then you turn to Rembrandt and you go, those splotches do not look like a mommy. What would Rembrandt say to you? He'd say, come back in 6 months. And then you'll see the finished product. And then you'll see what a mother looks like. And then I'll explain to you why I needed red over here and white over here and a shadow over there and this over that. And this. So this is kind of, you have to have bitachon that Hashem is far greater than Rembrandt, okay? And has much greater understanding. In fact, when you go for a walk now, don't you see how Hashem is one of the most incredible artists in the world?
Yeah.
Like when you're seeing these leaves and this and that, like that's a speck of the beauty of the world. You're watching a speck and it's breathtaking, right? And no matter how great man tries to imitate those colors, I don't think he can ever get them the way Hashem got them, right? So it's just something for us to understand. So part of our bitachon is this understanding, okay? So Hashem is the rock and the artist, and he, through our lives, right? He's painting a picture, but guess who's completing it?
We are.
You are. You're completing it through your choices. So he's given you some of the paintbrush and he's given you the canvas and he's blotched a bunch of stuff on it, but now you're going to finish the painting. All right. So that's what you have to believe with the bitachon, right? And not everybody's canvas is exactly what they wanted. You know, sometimes you're looking at this canvas and going, me? Why'd you give me this? Like, I can't do this. This isn't for me. But then Hashem says, no, have bitachon. Have bitachon that if I gave this to you, this is your canvas and your signature will be on it. You know what I'm saying? So this is the kind of stuff that we have to take a look at, right? Okay. So what was Moshe Rabbeinu, what was Hashem trying to tell Moshe Rabbeinu? And I think this is something that we really should live with in our own understanding. He said, you get to see part of the story. But when a person only sees parts of a story, then they don't have the whole story. And you just have to have faith that I know what I'm doing. And I think that that's what Hashem is trying to teach us when he teaches us about judging people favorably. Like how many times you jump to a conclusion and it's so scary, you know, and you read it wrong, but you jumped. So you really have to know, if you only know part of the story, you don't really have the story. It's like a very good line to really keep in our minds. Like I see in myself as I'm evolving, you know, when people are telling me stories like with marriages and this one and that one, and I only hear one side, I don't hear the other side. From now on, if I only have half the story, it means I don't have the story. And I don't want to make any more conclusions because I've seen how often you jump and you say, well, if they said that, then this must be this. You only have half the story. You really don't have the story. Right? So that's important for us to understand. So when does Hashem say to Moshe, you'll have the story when you can look back. So, you know, it's interesting what they say. It's very interesting. You know, like when they had to do the makos, right? It was time to do the makos. So, you know, Moshe's stick, you know, you hold it up and things happen. So when it came to the mak of blood, who really did the mak of blood? Was it Moshe or someone else?
Aharon.
Yes. And why was it Aharon?
Because Moshe couldn't hit the Nile.
Why?
He was good to him. He was saved by the
Now
Nile.
was good to
So he
him.
was saved by the Nile. So there's gratitude. When it came time to, you know, hit the ground and all the lice was going to come out, you know, who hit the ground?
Hashem.
No. Who hit the ground? Aaron. Okay, so why Aaron?
Because Moshe hid and they let him hide.
Because Moshe hid the Egyptian that he killed, right, under the ground. Okay, so now if you really look at the two stories, like, look, let's be really honest about them. And it's very interesting when you think about it. Like, really, those moments in history for Moshe were traumatic. Those were not happy times. He was a baby and he was being, you know, threatened by death, right? Right. All the boys were being thrown into the Nile. All of them were drowning most of the time, annihilated and killed. So I wouldn't exactly say like happy memories, you know what I mean? Like happy memories that I was a baby almost going to be killed. And my mother had no choice but to put me in a basket and send me off. And I'm so grateful. And then I was a prince in Egypt. I was torn between being a Jew and an Egyptian. And I come out and I commit a crime and I murder an Egyptian. Now I'm wanted and my head's going to be cut off. And the only thing I had was I was able to bury him in the ground. Like, you know what I mean? That's, you really stop and you think about it, like it's a little weird, okay, to be grateful for these traumatic times. So why was Moshe grateful for that trauma?
It made him grow.
Who he was.
Exactly. So for a lot of us, right, when we were in the trauma, it wasn't fun. It was really bad and it was really terrible. But now when you get to look back 60 years later, he came back at 80, he looked 60 years later. He said, if it wasn't for that trauma, I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't be able to be Moshe, the Mashiach of the Jewish people.
Probably hungry.
Interesting, right? It's an interesting concept. So sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, I always tell people the worst thing that ever happened is that my parents were Holocaust survivors. The best thing that ever happened was that my parents were Holocaust survivors, for me. Right? It's not such a simple story. But when I look back, I wouldn't be who I am at all. You know what I'm saying? So this is the reality. So it's just good for us to know. So sometimes with the bitachon, like I think that's what it means. Like, you know, that's what I think it means when it says, like, you know, in Shemayim, there will be no questions. You'll have it all answered because you'll see the entire picture. You'll see who you were as a soul. You'll see like your travels and your journeys. Who knows if it's more than one world? I have no idea. Not one world, more than one time in history. But you'll see how it all adds up, right? And then you'll be able to take this deep breath and go, wow, that's what it was. Like if you see with anything that's going on right now, like people are having all kinds of, I don't know if they're true or they're not true. I'm assuming they are. Like people are coming out and saying they're having different dreams of people who, you know, passed on, or like there's been some very sad stories, right? Like this story of this young Cohen girl who died when she was 9 years old, like just a couple of weeks ago. It was a big tragedy with a car accident, right? And the aunt said she had a dream, and the girl came to her and she said, I'm like, don't cry. This is what happened and it was supposed to happen and I'm so happy here. Do you know what I mean? And I'm in a good place. And, you know, and just said, like, you know, she said Mashiach will be coming soon. It was like very comforting, the words that this woman dreamed. And I don't think that these dreams are nothing. I really don't. I really like, there's so many stories of things like that. So I'm just trying to say, like, it's hard. I am not minimizing anyone's pain. That's what I like about when you talk about real bitachon. You do have pain. It's not that you don't. You do have pain. And you're entitled to have pain. The question is, how are you going to take that pain to make the right choices to be able to move you forward? Because your mitzvah is always to take the next step and to do the next right thing. That's your mitzvah, right? Hashem gives you time, like mourn, do this, but then move forward with it, right? Okay. All right. So let me see what else. Okay. So here's an example. The Gemara goes out of its way to tell you a story. Okay. So there's a bystander. He's walking. He's just watching this episode unfold. I can't believe it. So, you know, somebody's fixing a sign, you know, outside their store, and they're climbing up the ladder, and they're fixing something. And then you wouldn't believe what happens. Suddenly, the guy who's on top of the ladder, he falls, and somebody is walking past him exactly at that time. And this guy falls on top of the other man and kills him. Gemara says that's the story. And he kills him. And the bystanders there like, oh my gosh, what a tragic event. This is terrible. Oh my gosh. So what happens? The person who is Nebuch died has to be buried. And the person who was on top of the ladder, he has to run to Orei Miklat. You know, there was a situation in Eretz Yisrael, these Orei Miklat that you have now in Yerushalayim, when there's a bomb flying and everybody has to run to their Orei Miklat. In ancient Israel, like when we had the Beis Hamikdash, if somebody murdered someone by accident, they had to like be separated and live in these cities. And they had to live there until the Kohen Gadol passed away. So they were separated from society, they're separated from their family, and they have to live in these cities, okay? So, you know, this person, the onlooker, is looking at it and he's like, oh, this is so tragic. What did these people do to deserve this, right? That's the big question. Why them? Whoa, this is awful. So what's the Gemara say? He doesn't know the full picture. Really, the full picture, the Gemara says, is the man who got killed had murdered someone else. And he deserved to die. But the murder was done secretly, so nobody knew. So nobody took him to court, and he wasn't prosecuted. And he got away
With murder.
with his murder, got away with murder. Lamaisa got murdered. The other guy who fell from the ladder and killed him had done that before and had killed someone else accidentally. Nobody witnessed it. So he never got sent to an Orei Miklat and had to sort of, you know, suffer a little, right? Because of his carelessness or whatever it was. Do you know what I'm saying? So this is the issue. We often don't know. The story is so much bigger. So when we're looking at certain people who are suffering certain sufferings, that doesn't mean we go, well, you know what? You're a Gilgal. Okay? That's not what we do. We don't take down our empathy for them and we don't make any guesses. All we can say is, Hashem, I want to be here to help these people. I want to comfort these people. That's what you tell me my mitzvah is. But for me to understand this picture, I just work here. Do you understand? What does it mean, you know, when you call someone, like somebody's working at the desk and somebody comes up and goes, this whole story, how crazy this is. And what is the person who, they're just like they're just the one who answers the phone. So they just turn to the person and go, I'm so sorry, you're uncomfortable, but I just work here. I don't know, the ins and outs of this whole big factory or this whole big corporation. Like, I'll work here, So in many ways, that's what we have to kind of understand, okay? We just work here. That's what it means. Like when my husband was saying, like, now is not the time for us to point fingers at Hashem. Bitachon is, I don't have to point fingers at Hashem. I have bitachon that whatever you are doing is for the good of me personally, and for the good of the collective soul of the Jewish people, and for the good of this entire world. That's all I know, right? Good as defining getting closer to you, something to do with the relationship with you, something to do with why I work here. That's all. I won't be able to go over to people and explain why Hashem is doing this to us. I can't do that. Well, because you did this sin and you did that sin and we did this. We can understand some things. Some things are quite obvious. We were fighting among ourselves, terrible. And now we're so much more united. And the world was full of pollution, like horrible, let's be honest, sins, okay? People murdering and stealing and this thing, like, let's be honest, right? And now we, as a collective Jewish people, are trying to bring so much good into this world. True or false?
Yeah, true.
So true. So much good that would never have happened. Right? Everybody picking up for the next person, helping the next person. Like, it's incredible what we're accomplishing, right? We just have to keep accomplishing it. Okay? And we have to have bitachon that not only whatever Hashem is doing, but Hashem also trusts us. Like we have bitachon in him. Hashem says, I have bitachon in you. And your small acts, I'm going to tell you, make the biggest difference. And I'm calling on you. I need your tefillah and I need your this and I need your that. So I could send down the bracha that I want to send to the world. But I can't do it if you're not going to participate. I can't force my Yeshua on you. I can't force my salvation on you. I can only give it to you if you ask me for it. and you participate in it, that's also something we have to have a ton of bitachon in. A ton. Because every day that you're not motivated, sometimes like you're tired, 500 kapitlach of Tehillim, like I don't know about you guys, but you're on this Tehillim list and that Tehillim list and this list and this list. Like, you have to have energy for this. And you have to really believe that it makes a difference if I skip it. Right? Like Sandy, you just sent me something, right? So, I mean, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but Sandy sent, I mean, I love you, Sandy, but then there was this part of me like, why? Okay, so Sandy sent that we have to
do anything anymore.
No, to get up at 6:30 a.m.
No,
right?
that's Israel time.
Oh, so what time? Baruch Hashem, I spoke about this because I was trying to get up tomorrow at 6:30.
6:30 a.m. is 1:30 is lunchtime, 1:30 lunchtime.
Okay, and what's the
And
other one?
The other one was, I think, 12:30, which is 7:30 our time.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's so much better. Okay, so I'm going to send it out, like after this class, I'm going to put it out. So Sandy sent me that the rabbis are asking that we say these, I think it was four kapitlach of Tehillim, that they're asking everyone in Israel to say every day, right? Every day.
That's from Carmela.
Okay, from Carmela Wenner, who used to be part of our shul. Okay, so made aliyah, so 1:30 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. and I'll send it to you, okay?
7:30.
Did anyone have to say anything?
No, I thought it was 7:30 a.m.
No, so it's 1:30
12:30
p.m. No, is 7.
Oh,
No, I think. Okay, Sandy, when you get it right,
okay, I'll
send
go
it
back
to
and
me,
check.
and then I'm
Yeah.
going to send it to everybody else. But it's
Right.
not Baruch Hashem 6:30 a.m.
Right, you're right.
Okay.
I'll better double check.
Okay, so just double check, okay? Okay, now, let me see. Okay, so let me explain something to you, because sometimes when you're hearing all this thing about bitachon and all the tzuris and all this, so like, are we allowed to daven that things should be better? Yes. Okay, like some people get also very confused with this, and it's a very important part to also really explain. So like sometimes you think like, if I keep telling you everything is for the good, so then why should you be davening that things should change if it's all for the good? Okay, so here's what we have to understand. Everything that is happening for a reason. For a reason for you at this exact moment in time. Okay, now when a person prays, right? It's a reflexive verb. When you pray lehit palel, you change yourself. Does everyone understand that? Do you feel that? Like sometimes when you pray, don't you feel like you feel different? Even if I wandered off, which I never do. Like, so sometimes like I'm praying and I'm like, where am I again? So you know what? When that happens, don't get down on yourself. You say, you know what? It's a very hard world to concentrate. Hashem, I'm trying my best right now. And just because I lost it on Modim doesn't mean I can't pick it up again now. Okay, so you drop the ball for a minute, be very proud of yourself that you're bothering to pick it up again, and you're trying your best. And so you're saying to Hashem, you know what? Yesterday, it may be that Nebuch, the Jewish people, and you couldn't help us. You weren't helping us. There's a reason. You're not letting go of this for some reason. But today, we're a different Jewish people. And today, we're trying to be that much better. So maybe we don't need that same surgery. Like sometimes a doctor will say to you, you got a choice. You never hear this, they do this. Hey, you're on a borderline diabetes type 2. Okay, borderline type 2 diabetic. You know what they'll tell you? Look, you got 2 weeks to smarten up. Start eating healthier, start exercising, and come back to me in 2 weeks. If your numbers are better, I don't have to give you the medication. You can help yourself. So that's what happens when we daven to Hashem. We're almost like saying to him, you know what, Hashem? We don't want the medication. We want to be better. We want to be different so that things can be different. You see what's going on? That's how you're saying, Hashem, you can do this to us in an easier way. We can like correct ourselves. We can daven to you. We totally depend on you. We're trying to say, when you're davening, I love this idea. It's a declaration of dependence, not the declaration of independence. It's the declaration of dependence. We're saying to you, Hashem, I'm dependent on you. I'm humble. I humble myself before you. The Jewish people right now, ein od milvado. Don't for a second, like not a second, do I trust America or any country in the world to have Israel's back. Like, don't for a minute. I don't care how many speeches, I don't care how many promises. It's worth this, okay? 0, 0, 0. All right? Ein od milvado. So we're going to sit here and we're going to daven to Hashem. We're going to say we don't want, everyone wants Mashiach, but not like in a negative, horrible way. If it has to be, it has to be. But we are asking you, Hashem, with chesed and rachamim and nisim and niflois, miracles. That's how we're asking Hashem. Help us be worthy for that. Help us, show us. That's what you're praying now. Like now, you know what I mean? Like usually I would go, like, I don't know about everybody. I feel bad to say it, but you know, you go through Shmona Esrei, blah, 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 blah. You know? Now, when you're really looking at the words, you really see that they're exactly what we need to be saying. Build back the Beis Hamikdash, bring us back people who can give us advice. You know what I mean? Thank you, Hashem, for everything you've done in the past. Bring shalom to the world. Like, no, isn't it true? Like, so now, like, you see what I'm saying? So yes, bitachon, everything you do is for the best. But it would be nice if we could do it sweeter, okay? If it could be matov umanayim. Asking for that is not a lack of bitachon, all right? So people need to appreciate that, all right? I just want to see one more idea. Okay, so we definitely can do that. All right, and we have to realize that when we see things bumping up and down like this, and there doesn't seem to be any correlation, like I don't want any of us to ever feel like we wasted anything. Just because, you know, remember there was that terrible time with this Nachson Waxman. Do you remember? He was like a soldier. He was kidnapped, and then all of Israel was praying for his return, and his father was a wonderful person, and everybody was davening, and Nebuch, he didn't come back alive.
He still didn't return his body, you know?
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. They're such animals. They're animals beyond animals. Like, we're not dealing with anything rational, but I have a feeling we haven't been dealing with anything rational forever.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so they interviewed his father, like the father, and they said, like, how is Hashem doing this? Like, the entire nation was screaming, why didn't Hashem answer us? So the father said, he did answer us. The answer was no.
Kol hakavod. Yפה מאוד.
And that's it. It's not an easy thing. And I'm not asking.
You know, the same way you say אין עוד מלבדו, you say ומי כעמך ישראל.
Yes. Esther gets 500 points for doing that. Okay? Yeah. Esther gets 500 points because you were just such an advocate for the Jewish people.
Yes.
So what the Malachim, where does this all come from? Where is this idea of, you know, Michalowicz Yisrael? Where is it all coming from? In Shmona Esrei, it always says, Mogain Avraham. You know that is the most important bracha in the whole Shmona Esrei. You have to have the right kavana. When you say Baruch Atah Hashem, Mogain Avraham, you have to have the right kavana.
The first bracha in Shmona Esrei.
Yeah, but you have to have that right kavana. So what is it? So the Malachim said that was Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu, like, it's not normal. Like, you finish with the Akedah. Could you imagine? God forbid to be tested like that, where you have to sacrifice your son. Sure, I mean, like, it's an unbelievable test, and people are tested like it right now. That's exactly what's going on in Eretz Yisrael. Anybody whose son is on the front, that's not a simple test. All right? So you sacrifice your son, then you're so happy. Baruch Hashem said, no, I didn't really want your son. I wanted your mind and your heart, that even if something crazy happened and you could not understand it at all, you trust me that I know what I'm doing. That's all that was. Shem never would have taken his son, never in a million years. All right? So then you go down, okay, Baruch Hashem, okay. What was the first piece of news that greets him?
Sarah died.
Yeah. Sarah dies. What's the second piece of news? I have nowhere to bury her. Now I have to go find a place to bury her. I have to deal with Ephraim, who's the biggest cheat, who says, "Oh, you can have it for nothing. You never," like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, when you're very worn, yeah, you know, when you're very worn down, like every little thing makes you crazy, right? But the Malachim say, like, no, it's like bitachon, 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 bitachon. Whatever you're doing, Hashem, whatever you're doing. And you know why he's called Mogain Avraham? And this, I feel, is like the story of the Jewish people. Like, we have to realize, like, Ani Mamin has been sung for thousands of years. Like, everyone, it's a famous story. The Kloisenberger Rebbe lost, 10 children and his wife. He never cried in the Holocaust. He was only there to hold everyone up. The only time he cried was when he saw the American soldiers come to liberate him, because he thought for sure it would be Mashiach. It was the only time he cried. So, you know, you've been hearing this over and over and over and over. Like, it's not like the first time that, you know, Jewish people are yelling, "Please bring Mashiach," right? Right? So what's Mogain Avraham? Avraham was promised so much, but he didn't necessarily live to see it all come true. Mogain Avraham, what's the greatest shield the Jewish people have? That even when we don't see it come true, we still believe it will. We still have faith that whatever you're doing, Hashem, you're just bringing us closer to the end, and it's all good in the end. A good that's revealed, not just some a good that's good for us. We're holding on tight. That's Mogain Avram. That's who we are. And you could have like a Nachshon Waxman's father say, "He just said no." That's where it comes from. Okay, so this is Bitachon, and in Mirza Hashem, we just have to keep working on it. Okay, so now let's, Sandy, if you could, you'll lead us into Tehillim, okay?
Okay, Gail, those times are going to be very difficult for us. They're 5:30 a.m. and 11:30 p.m.
Oh.
So I don't know if we just do it.
So what do they want us to do? What did they say? Like, does it say anything on it, or was that a call for Eretz Yisrael or all around the world?
Well, the chief rabbis of Israel are asking everyone to please join all of Am Yisrael in reciting the Tehillim.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
if we say it twice a day, does it have to be at those times?
Obviously,
What time, Sandy? What time?
5:30 in the morning. Hold on, I want to just stop the recording for a second. Okay.